Well, let me begin by thanking all of you, not only for being here today, but for understanding when people join a union, when they stand up and fight back, that's the way we make progress. I just want to thank you and the unions for all that you're doing. In the year 2025, in the richest country in the history of the world, nobody should be forced to work for starvation wages. It is time to raise the $7.25 an hour federal minimum wage, which is a disgraceful minimum wage, to a living wage. At least $17 an hour, and that is precisely what the legislation that we are introducing today will do. In America today, while the very richest people become much richer, over 60% of workers in our country are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling every day to pay rent, to buy groceries, to pay their health care bills. Despite huge advantages in technology and worker productivity, the average American worker today makes about $40 a week less than he or she did 52 years ago after adjusting for inflation. In other words, almost all of the new income and wealth created over that 52 years has gone to the top 1%. And today we are saying we want an economy that works for everybody, not just the billionaires. And let us be very clear. Nobody in America, I don't care where you live, nobody in America can make it on $7.25 an hour, $9 an hour, or $12 an hour. And there's some kind of mythology out there that, well, the only people who earn low wages are kids trying to make some spending money, to go to the movies on Saturday night. That ain't the case. Vast majority of low-wage workers in America are adults, many trying to raise their families. In America last year, nearly 40 million Americans made less than $17 an hour. Unacceptable. The value of the minimum wage today is at its lowest level since 1956. Since the federal minimum wage was last raised 16 years ago, it has lost 33% of its purchasing power. In other words, minimum wage workers today are in a lot worse shape than they were decades ago. In America today, almost 40% of Hispanic women and 35% of black women in the workforce make less than $17 an hour. In my view, and I think the view of the overwhelming majority of the American people, we can no longer accept a rigged economy where the people on top have never, ever had it so good, while working people are struggling to put food on the table. We have got to make significant improvements in the economy. We've got to make an economy that works for working people, not just the rich. And one way, not the only way we do that, is by raising the minimum wage to a living wage. And make no mistake about it, a $17 an hour minimum wage is not a radical idea. It is supported by the overwhelming majority of the American people. Last year, voters in Missouri and Alaska voted overwhelmingly to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. In 2022, voters in Nebraska, not exactly the most progressive state in America, voted overwhelmingly to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. In 2020, Florida, a Republican state, voted overwhelmingly to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And guess what? As a result of inflation, $15 an hour a couple of years ago would be over $17 an hour today. In fact, if the minimum wage had increased along with worker productivity over the last 57 years, minimum wage would be $23 an hour, not $7.25 an hour. Now, here is some good news. A couple of days ago, as part of the budget debate, every Democrat in the Senate and one Republican voted for an amendment that I offered to raise the minimum wage to $17 an hour. That is an excellent start, but it is not enough. We need the Republicans to understand that workers in their states can't make it on $7.25 and $10 an hour. They have got to join us and help us raise that minimum wage to $17 an hour. At a time of massive and growing income and wealth inequality, at a time of record-breaking corporate profits, every worker in America should be able to provide for his or her family earning a living wage. That is our goal, and that's the goal we're going to accomplish. I am really honored that we have so many workers from all over the country who are here today to tell their stories, to go out and meet with members of Congress. Let me now introduce Nicole Ray. Nicole has worked for almost 2 years as an airport passenger service agent in Phoenix, Arizona, where she services Southwest Airlines. She is a single mom with 2 sons and worries whether she'll be able to afford rising costs of rent and electricity. Nicole, thank you very much for being with us. Hey, thanks. Okay, don't be nervous. You'll do fine.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Ray, and I'm a passenger service agent at Sky Harbor International Airport. I'm one of the workers you see pushing around passengers who need wheelchair assistance to get to and from their gate and around the airport. Don't get me wrong, I love my job. I love chatting with all the passengers I meet, and I love knowing I'm making a difference and that I'm helping make air travel possible for so many people. But I only make $14.70 an hour, the minimum wage in Arizona, and we have to report our tips, which are then taken out of our paychecks. That is not enough to survive and thrive in 2025. I constantly worry about rent, bills, medication, and groceries. I am a single parent of 2 sons, and I worry each and every day how I'm going to provide for them. The major airlines rake in billions of dollars but allow us to be paid poverty wages. It's wrong. Working people nationwide are the backbone of our aviation industry and keep planes flying. We need a federal minimum wage that is a living wage, one that works for all working people. I won't stop fighting until workers in Arizona and across the country are heard and paid enough to support our families and ensure all of our communities can thrive. Thank you, Senator Sanders, Representative Scott, and all the members of Congress who are fighting for us by supporting this bill and allowing workers like myself to have our voices heard. I would now like to introduce Representative Scott.
Thank you, Nicole, for your kind introduction, and thank you for sharing your story. Good afternoon, and thank you to all the workers, reporters, colleagues who have joined us as we introduce the Raise the Wage Act of 2025. That no person should be working full-time in America and still remain in poverty. But now there's currently no place in the United States where a full-time worker making the federal minimum wage can afford even a modest 2-bedroom apartment. And on average, a minimum wage worker would have to work 95 hours a week to afford a modest 1-bedroom apartment. And so Congress has not yet raised the minimum wage in about 15 years, the longest stretch in the history of the minimum wage. The Raise the Wage Act would give roughly 22 million workers a much-needed raise by taking 3 key steps. First, it gradually increases the minimum wage to $17 an hour by 2028. It guarantees that tipped workers, youth workers, and workers with disabilities are all paid the full minimum wage. And third, it ensures that the value of the federal minimum wage will not erode over time as it has now by tying future increases to median wages. And every time we propose a minimum wage increase, we hear the same excuses of why workers must continue to scrape by on poverty-level wages. But we can't allow our policy decisions to be guided by fear-mongering that has undercut workers for decades. It was President Franklin Delano Roosevelt who once said, "Do not let any calamity-howling executive with an income of $1,000 a day tell you that a wage of $11 a week is going to have a disastrous effect on all American industry." Obviously, we can do better. The evidence shows that raising the minimum wage puts more money in the pockets of low-income workers, and those workers have more money. They turn around and spend that money in communities, stimulating the economy. The American people also overwhelmingly support raising the minimum wage at state-level ballot initiatives and nationwide polls. Americans around the country and across the political spectrum have repeatedly demonstrated overwhelming support for raising the minimum wage. Senator Sanders has pointed out that over the past 3 years, 28 states in the District of Columbia have raised their minimum wage, including red states such as Arkansas, Missouri, and Florida, all voting to increase their minimum wage. We must now ensure that all workers receive a long overdue raise and help lift millions of Americans out of poverty. Raise the Wage Act is the next step we must take to build an economy where everyone can succeed. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce Maurice Haskin, a food service worker in Atlanta, Georgia, and a member of the Union of Southern Service Workers. Thank you, Maurice, for being with us and sharing your story.
Hello. My name is Maurice Haskin. I've been a member of the Union of Southern Service Workers for about 3 years now, but I've been in the service industry for almost a decade. I'm visiting here from Atlanta, Georgia to talk about unfair wages. Inflation has gone up, but wages for working class families have not. I can barely afford rent, and I work 30 hours a week, and I pick up every extra shift I can. I can't afford health care. When my tooth hurts, I have to wait several months and just hope it goes away. And if it doesn't, then I will go into debt just to get it checked on and to get the medication for it. If I get sick, I have to hope it goes away soon because I cannot afford to miss 2 days of work. We need programs like Medicaid, and we need livable wages. And this is not optional. This is a life or death situation for all service workers across America. Organizing in the South is important because change in the South means change across the entire nation. We are facing laws left over from the Jim Crow era of South. The Jim Crow out. I got it. We are facing laws left over from the Jim Crow era South. That's why we've been organizing our workplaces. Because when we fight, we will win. Okay. Raising wages for all workers at the federal level will help workers everywhere and get closer to being able to pay our bills, to feed our families, and to live a dignified life. But the takeaway from this is that it's honestly crazy that I have to come up here and defend my right to live. Defend our right to live. Okay. because the resources needed to give us, and by us, I mean me, my friends, my coworkers, mothers, fathers, children, the elderly and sick, a better quality of life is being hoarded and upsold so billionaires can hoard even more. Because I'm not asking to be rich. I just want to eat 3 meals a day. I want to see a doctor when I get sick. I want my last and first thoughts of the day to not be if I can afford to exist. And maybe even a vacation twice a year. As a kid, I always thought that my government existed to help the people. So I'm calling on you to do the right thing and raise the federal minimum wage for workers and families all across the country. Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Representative Greg Kazar of Texas and the chair of Congressional Progressive Caucus.
Let's hear it for Mo. Hi all, my name is Greg Kazar. I represent the heart of Texas, and I'm proud to chair the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Today we are here to say loudly with one voice, Americans deserve a raise. For 15 years, corporations have gotten bigger, billionaires have gotten richer, and working Americans have gotten screwed. For 15 years, the rent has gone up, the grocery bill has gone up, the utility bill has gone up, but billionaires and their right-wing politicians have kept the minimum wage exactly the same. So it is time to pass the Raise the Wage Act so that working Americans can work to support their families, not to help a billionaire buy his 4th jet. It is time to pass the Raise the Wage Act so that if you work a full-time job, you don't have to live in poverty. Outside of Washington, this is a common sense issue. As Senator Sanders put it, in red states and blue states, voters are voting to raise the minimum wage. This is not a partisan issue. And if the Democratic Party wants to re-inspire the working class and get back to its roots, then we need to put the Raise the Wage Act front and center in front of our voters. To get this bill passed and to get this done, we have a bigger mission that we have to accomplish, which is to break the unholy alliance between corporate greed and corrupt government. That is our task. This starts with millions of ordinary Americans, of people that work at our restaurants and our airports and our daycare centers and our hospitals and our schools, rising up and speaking out, fighting back against the billionaires that are stealing your labor. Because folks like Elon Musk think that the rest of us were put on earth to work to make him richer. But we have some news for Elon Musk. This country is built by and for the American people, not by and for the billionaires. I'm honored to be the vice-ranking member now on the Education and Labor Committee alongside our ranking member, Bobby Scott, and proud to be a co-author of the Raise the Wage Act and to put it front and center on the Democratic agenda. And pushing us to make sure that this issue is front and center are those workers and are our unions. So today, I'm lucky to be joined by Thomas White, who's speaking next, who works the ramps at the Dulles Airport. Thank you for getting me back and forth from Texas safely every day, Thomas.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Okay, and everybody else that's on YouTube right now. My name is Thomas White. I work at on the ramp, doing the lavatories on the aircrafts for the past 10 years now. Okay, I'm actually a single father of 4 kids, and the 3 youngest ones live with me. They depend on me. I really do important work at the airport, cleaning out and removing all of the human waste off of it. Okay, something that you might not know is that You don't know until you appreciate when you get on an aircraft and it's not backed up or it has no sense of smell on it and everything. Okay. Okay. I have to make a lot of decisions when it comes to paying for pretty much anything that I have to do with my kids, okay? Sometimes I have to choose which one I'm able to pay for things like getting glasses, retainers, or even just regular school supplies, okay? I'm constantly in pain every day of the week because of my medical issues, but I can't even go to even get just my dental work done, okay? I always put my kids first before myself. Okay. With what I make and the amount that I pay for the health insurance of the company that I'm currently with, I can't even think about taking my kids to, or I'm sorry, I can't even think about having my kids go to college because I can't really afford it, or even a retirement for my retirement plan for myself. Okay, I live in Fairfax County, Virginia, which is one of the wealthiest counties in that portion of the county, and I rent a house. So I can be closer to the airport, closer to the schools, closer to everything I can if I need to be in any type of emergency or just regular getting groceries, okay? I pay rent for the current house that I'm in, okay? But even at that, I have to rent out the rooms just to maintain to be in there with all the roommates, just so that my kids and I have a roof over our head, okay? My youngest is currently, he's almost 15 years old, okay? My son and I, we live in the living room of the house, okay? We have really no privacy whatsoever, but even at that, my son has a bed and I don't. I sleep on the floor. I work at the airport, which is also wealthy and a booming industry, and I still barely can scrape by. Workers like me across the country can't afford to live on the wages we make. We need to raise the minimum wage for all workers and families like mine, and so they don't have to live like this anymore. Okay. And may I please introduce the SEIU International President, April, Vermont.
Can I just ask folks to please give it up for Thomas and for Mo and for Nicole? If you think it's easy to stand in front of all of you and to stand in front of these cameras and share your story, share your struggle, be vulnerable on behalf of millions of workers across this country, they are the true heroes here today. So thank you so much. I am indeed April Verrett, and I'm the proud president of SEIU. And I'm just going to say it as plain as I can. Workers need more money. This is not rocket science. It is just that damn simple. Families across America need more money. Their wages must go up. We've heard the senator and congressmen talk about the federal minimum wage has been stuck at $7.25 an hour for 16 years. And we started to demand $15 an hour over a decade ago. Since then, the cost of living has continued to go up. We are now facing a crisis as families struggle to buy essentials and basic groceries. So much during the election was made about the price of eggs. I haven't seen them get any cheaper. Have you? It is time to raise the wages for workers in this country. It's past time. It is time for the Raise the Wage Act. It is time for workers like Nicole Ray, who you heard from, to be able to put food on the table without worrying about being able to pay the light bill. It's time to get rid of the sub-minimum wage for the racist, the sexist, the ableist sub-minimum wage for tip workers and workers with disabilities. It's time for folks to be able to afford housing. What father should have to share a home with his 3 children and others and still sleep on the floor so he can send his kids to a good school district? Not in these United States of America that's supposed to promise so much to so many of us, right? People should be able to live comfortably and to put something away for a rainy day. Airport workers and home care workers should have enough to make ends meet. Waffle House workers and rideshare drivers should not have to worry about robbing Peter to pay Paul. At SEIU, we are damn proud of what we have done in cities and states across this country to make sure every company pays workers what they deserve and what they are worth. Every raise we've bargained for has been fought with blood, sweat, and tears. But it is time for every single worker in this country to have access to a fair, livable wage. That is a part of every single good job in this country. We are ready to keep fighting for higher wages and making sure corporations meet the moment too. Let's not leave them behind. It is not just government's responsibility to make sure people get by. Corporations have to be held accountable for economic exploitation. And so SEIU is 10 toes down. We've been here. We always will be here. And with you in this moment as we take this important step for working people. Now I'd like to call up to the mic Dorothy Griffin. She is an airport worker from Charlotte, North Carolina, who knows how hard it is to get by on minimum wage. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Griffin, and I've been working at Charlotte International Airport for 7 years. I've worked as terminal cleaner, cabin cleaner, and now I work in the pro shop, ensuring that the workers have their equipment to clean the airplanes. I love my job, and it makes me feel good knowing that I play an important role in ensuring the safety of the travelers, but I am tired of working and not getting paid. I'm 67 years old and I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I struggle every 2 weeks to pay my bill, and I'm a month behind on rent. Sometimes I can't even afford to buy food to eat because I don't have enough money. I had to juggle and think between what I wanted most, my car or somewhere to stay. They came and took my car the other day because I just couldn't afford it. Couldn't keep up the payments. I told the people that I can't live in my car and I won't live in my car. I'd rather have somewhere to stay. I've been making $15.50 for 4 years and have not seen a raise, but the cost of living keeps going up. As the cost of living continues to rise, the Raise the Wage Act is a critical effort that would help a lot of families, lift a lot of families up and take them out of poverty. We should be paid enough to support ourselves and our families, and we won't stop fighting until we get what we want and deserve.
I just want to thank all of the workers and the union leaders who are here today. As April mentioned, it takes a lot of courage for somebody to go up in front of the cameras and talk about what's going on in their lives, especially when they are struggling every day to just get by. But the stories that we have heard today from these workers are the stories being told by millions of workers. This is the richest country in the history of the world. In recent years, we have seen a proliferation of billionaires. Nobody in America should be wondering about how they're going to feed their kids, pay their rent, or pay their medical bills. So raising the minimum wage is an important step forward, but we have got to create an economy that works for all, not just the few. Any questions that we can answer? All right. Well, let me thank all of you for being here and thank the workers for being here as well. Bobby?